Gates who parents can't afford for them to take acting and singing and dancing and those creative things that they have, their gifts, talents, and abilities, because God gives us all gifts, talents, and abilities. And they weren't being cultivated because a lot of parents just couldn't afford to cultivate them.
Facts.
So I said, how can I bridge the gap? And I started Radical for Kids, a creative arts program where whatever the kids want to do, that we tap into those things and we cultivate them. And I really wanted to, even if there were children who just wanted to start their own businesses, I wanted to put the Fortune 500 companies to task to give these children an opportunity to even work for their companies. And I had my daughter and her other friends, they volunteer. My daughter really runs the program mostly now because she's an adult. Okay. So we had the kids over on Saturday. They went and they cleaned the garden to start doing gardening for organic foods. And this is here at my home because I don't have government funding, though we're a 501c3 organization. But it's so hard for them to see us and give us the money and the funding that we need. Excuse me, because I live across the street from Long Island Railroad. We ain't way out in Long Island or in Mount Vernon. So if y'all hear the train, y'all know we are from New York, right? So they're like, we hear the train in the back town. We hear back speed. Yeah, we one stop away from the hood. But that's where Radical for Kids came from, and it's really now being retired. It's really part of my life's work to get these young people off the corners and these young girls to motivate young women and men, especially my girls, because I don't know, stripping is a career now. I have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with the money they get, but I have a problem with what they have to do to get the money.
You know what? That makes a lot of sense. I have a problem with giving them my money.
And I'm glad you said that as a man and as a Black man and as a parent.
I do.
A lot of my bros, I'm like, y'all in there looking at your daughters. Just put your daughter's face up there on that pole. That's good. What that. Listen.
That's a good point, though. No, that's a real good point. Hold that thought for 1 second. I'm gonna bring on our two guests. Let them join in. First of all, from Fly TV, my man Marlon Greer is in there. Bring Marlon on. We're going to talk about all this TV stuff and these platforms we got going on, because this brother is doing a million things for the community as well. And he left out? Okay, so he probably had to go. So let's bring in Cindy Barr, because Cindy Barr, what she does in the community floats right up your alley. She is the founder of Determined to Educate Foundation. I work with them every year, at the gala and different things. They go in and out of Job Corp. They saving the kids in the streets as well. So Cindy, you want to get your video in there as soon as you can, and we'll join you in. Oh, there you go.
Hello,
Cindy. This is Tina Booker. Tina Booker, Cindy. I think y'all heard each other on live one day.
She's the boss. Listen, Sin. First of all, tell I know you a brother, but you was wearing that hair, Huns.
Oh, thank you. And so are you.
Big hair don't care, honey. Big hair don't care. Yes.
That's right.
We on Motivation Mondays. I know you heard a little bit, Cindy. We're in the middle of her organization, talking about what she's doing in the community, how she got started, why she got bit by the bug, because a lot of us, we do things because we grew up and we know what it was like. So now in our generation that we're older, we're noticing that all that funding disappeared. Right. All that funding got cut. So all that PAL, all that City Kids, all the recreations we had up here in Westchester, Mount Vernon, all that's gone. Music out the school, arts out the school, sports out the school, close the gym, force everybody to a street corner, and throw the dice. You make it, you make it. You don't, you don't. So we appreciate guys like you with these organizations as well and doing what you do. Now, Tina, you're in Brooklyn still, correct? Or Long Island?
Well, I'm in Queens,
Okay, Queens. Okay.
Girl, but
so you said one stop from the hood, you said. She's a Brooklyn girl, now representing Queens. So give me you said, I think one interview we did before, you said something that was very interesting, and that was the age that you were grabbing these adolescents and these young men and women. You started at a certain age. Explain that.
Yeah, I like to mess with them around 13-ish, and my girl saying, from being a young lady, that 13-ish.
That's curiosity.
That 13-ish. coming out of that junior high school, you know, that issue on it. And that's when we be like, and your mother be like, keep smack your teeth again, I'm gonna take them out your mouth.
That's
you know,
right.
Yeah, the mothers don't say that no more, but you know, our mothers like, my mother used to say, I heard what you said going down the stairs, but I'll get you on your way back in.
Well, at least you got to talk. My mother gave me a look.
Oh, my mother, I think because of who I was, my mother, once she said it, she already knows she had to put the beats on me real quick. She knew, she was like, that mouth gonna say something else and it's gonna be a worse situation.
Right, right.
You know, so I know that, like I said, it was kind of rough, you know, Brooklyn, Bedford Stuyvesant in the midst of it. And a little backstory on that, my mom had took us to South Carolina when I was going into the second grade. She brought us back in the midst of my 5th grade year.
Okay.
In Crown Heights, Brooklyn.
Okay.
First day of school, I'm fighting in the yard. First day back to school. So just trying to even not be bullied.
Right.
In the school system. And we know from being educated in the school system how it can be really violent. And you talking about in the 80s, I was going down the street from Prospect Heights, one of the wildest high schools in Brooklyn. And it was really wild. And I just had to, what made me, because I was telling Talent, being an at-risk youth, what made me become that? When I know I had a mom who worked very hard to make sure we had what we needed as well as what we wanted. My dad was right across the street in New Jersey. Of course, not wanting for anything, but what made me cling on to the hustlers in the street life and glorify that. And half of it was being protected and not having an older brother in the home to hold me and my younger sister down. And I'm like, well, if I get cool with this and if I'm out here wilding, then I won't have to worry about being bullied or fearing thereof. So I think about that 13-year-old, and I was a lot younger then, but I think about when I was going to junior high school by Fort Greene Projects and the things that I didn't have at the time until I started going to City Kids to feel a little protected and knew that there were other kids out there just as creative as me. And it was cool to be a creative kid. That's when I started learning it was cool to just be a kid, not getting in trouble. It was cool to be okay to be a young person that's creative and not be judged. So when I started Radical for Kids, I was like, listen, I'm not the smartest kid in the class, but there's something special about me too. You know, I don't bring A's home, but I still have other things that people are interested in. And I noticed with dealing with the kids, and I know you're going to speak on it, when you give them that little bit of attention about the things that you see in them, the smiles on their face, and it used to bring me to tears when I would go home from Rikers Island, when one of the young guys or something would make me something like a paper mache to hang up in the bubble thing. And I'm like, you made that with your hand, or they crafted something with soap. And I'm like, where did you learn how to do that? And it used to bring tears to my eyes because I said, what if somebody would have took a moment to just pay attention to that? Would they be here?
Right.
So that's why I have Radical for Kids.
Good for you. Good for you. Good for you.
Well, I mean, we appreciate you. We need you. You know what I mean? Because and I like that people take the time when they think they want to do something like this. I think it's very important to, when you pick what age bracket you're going into, that you have that reason and that know-how of, this is why I'm grabbing you at 13. Like, this is why, because I know people who, you know, grab people kind of like in young adults, you know, later in life, but they have a reason of why they come in their life at that time. You know what I mean? Now, Cindy Boy's here, determined to educate. Brief the people again, Cindy, on, you know, how it started, why it started, and more importantly, why you?
And why me?
Because you got no kids.
Jesus told me to do it. Jesus, he told me.
There you go.
So determined to educate, you know, we mentor, we motivate, we find creative ways and creative opportunities for our young people to stay engaged, right? Particularly, I started because, like you, I remember how it was growing up. I remember that village. I remember that the people in the building was always looking out for me, the people on the block. And I grew up on Sedgwick where hip hop started. So everybody was already a community, right? So I was just a little kid learning about hip hop and, you know, Kool Herc and everybody's coming to the park and things like that. It was like a family. And it's like, oh man, don't say this, Miss such and such is gonna tell your mother, don't do that, Mr. Such and such, Uncle such and such live on the 3rd floor, you better not do that. Street light, come on, oh shoot, Cindy, your mom's head is out the window, you gotta go upstairs. So it was like, although it was creepy and it was like, man, we can't do that. My parents put the fear of God in me. That's probably why I don't have no kids right now, because I'm still scared. Don't you bring the babies in the house. I'm still scared. They're in the grave, I'm still scared. But so it's like I understood that concept. I understood that we needed each other. And as I started getting older and I started to see that the village was burning, the village was dying, nobody cared. Everybody was thinking about leather jackets, 3/4 leathers and looking fly, forgetting about the young people. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but it was like, oh man, they were looking at how you come up. They're looking at you, they're mimicking you, but you got to show them the way that they could do it safely, I would say, safely, right? And what did they do? Like you said, they gravitated towards the folks that was, doing things that maybe they shouldn't have been doing, but that's what they had to do to survive. Okay, cool. But they were not understanding the concept behind education, the concept behind why we need to vote, the concept on, why our parents are working 2-3 jobs to keep us safe, and why we had to have peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for dinner and things like that. They weren't understanding that. Now the kids today, their phones are better than mine. I'm like, yo, I had an iPhone 7 for so long, and I see them with an 11. I said, they up to an 11? Wait, I went inside the store. I went inside the store.
Right.
Excuse me, can I get an iPhone 8? They said, what?
Right.
I said, I need an iPhone 8.
Like, they ain't even gonna work. They ain't even gonna cut on, Ma. They like, your power ain't even gonna cut on.
Oh my God, they said, we don't sell that anymore. I said, but that's what I need. I need the next one after mine. They said, right now we only have 11s. I said, 11? How much? I'm like,
$1,000.
yeah, like I'm so I don't think they're mindful of things that are important and the things that are not. But we had to learn too. But we learned because people were teaching us, right? So that's what, when we deal with our younger kids, or we deal with the kids that we deal with, we want to show them what's important, what's not. For instance, when Talent came to talk to the kids, he spoke about him growing up in Mount Vernon and who he grew up with and who his circle was. And, comedy was his thing. And, he was class clown and he grew up with sisters and things like that, showing that experience. You talk about your triumphs, you talk about your tragedies, you talk about all the tribulations that you went through, but you're still successful. They need to see that. Like, damn, Talent, all they see is Talent doing shows, he making money, but they're not understanding that he probably had to compete with other comedians. He had to, maybe another comedian cut his throat, maybe his comedian boosted him up. They don't even know the struggle because they're not taught. So what you're doing, what I'm doing, what Talent is doing is so needed, and it's always going to be needed, especially now that you're saying that they cut all the programs, the PAL, the music programs, everything is gone. I'm like, me and a friend of mine were talking about our high school music teacher, Mr. Cologne. I said, dang, remember Mr. Cologne? We used to go, we had talent shows.
Yes, talent shows.
Right, we would perform at Lehman College and Lehman High School, and our old principal was like Joe Clark. Like, we were talking about all of that.
You felt like a superstar. You felt your talent show. Listen, you know how you back then you had your gel and that one ponytail slick because you ready.
Listen,
your shirt to match your sneakers.
I did the double Janet. I was nasty. I was doing nasty. I was salt and pepper. I had to, put the
and then you and ask your parents, could you spray your hair? I can remember when I was with De La Soul, when we had to do a dance, when we were doing a talent show in De La Soul, me, myself, and I came out, and I'm like, we're gonna kill it. We're gonna kill it and do the 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Don't miss your step. Don't miss your step. In the auditorium, I remember our baby, and we went hard, right? And that was your celebrity, and the kids like, oh, you want somebody to dance? Call Tina. Call Talent. You want to be funny in the class? The kids don't.
But sis, my queens, see the energy y'all have right now in this conversation. I would give anything for these young queens, these young sisters, to see that energy and conversation, that's missing.
Right.
Like, if you see 3 young girls, I just had my daughter's graduation barbecue Saturday, and I'm looking at these kids, and they 19, they 20, 21, but they're doing more of this than even. There's no exchange and no energy of exchange. Right. Everybody pause 1 second. Let's bring in our other guest. I think he's back in the studio. Marlon Greer, come on back in here, the founder of Fly TV. We're going to be talking about some of the things in the programming he got going on as well. But continue on. I just love this energy. Like y'all pinging, and here's the thing. We got the same memories. Yes. And you're right. We got teachers that these teachers are like rock stars to us.
Right. Of course.
Like Miss Butler in the 10th grade. Miss Butler used to be like, I'm gonna tear you up at recess. And I was like, my mother said, better not nobody hit me. My mother said,
listen,
no teacher can hit me.
If we can take it, like I sound like Donald Trump when he want to inject Clorox in people. If we can inject this energy into these young kids, we'll be in a better place. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Marlon Greer. We interrupted his busy day, but I wanted to get him on here because if you're not familiar with the network, this is a Black man that didn't say, let me do a platform, let me do one show. This brother came and said, let me do a network. Let me do my own network. And let me bring all these people in and program it. And Marlon, the reason that I got you on here, obviously, to talk about what we got on the platform, but also these are 2 queens you need to meet. You give these girls a show, Marlon.
Right.
You hear this energy?
I was backstage.
They get on there and do 2 hours on talent shows back in the day.
I mean, it's organic right there. I mean, it's flowing. I'm backstage crying, man.
Do me a favor, Marlon. Introduce Fly TV.
How are you?
Do me a favor, give me a quick background because this is Motivation Mondays and you are motivational, brother. Whether somebody told you that today or not in the last month or so, all this stuff, especially now, given the climate, given the pandemic, given the quarantine, given the ton of stuff we cannot do right now. Explain what Fly TV is, how you came about to starting that up, and what's your vision and direction for the future.
All right, well, basically, first of all, thanks for having me on Motivational Mondays. I mean, that's what it's about. We need more things of this, out there, with the kings and queens building together, that collective energy. And that's really what it's about. And either, you building or you destroying. So we as a people, we have to get more to that collective consciousness and not be about, what's in it for me. What you do for another, you do to yourself. That's what people don't realize. Like, we're all the same, But, I can use all my time on that. I'm not going to get in that piece, but I just wanted to say that. But first of all, Fly TV is on Focus Lifestyle Industry Television. And we're pretty much Black owned. It's me and my partner, Dave Finn. Again, my name is Marlon Greer, and pretty much we've been on this path for about 6 years now with Fly TV. We started off with Focus Broadcasting, which was a subscription model, and we learned really fast that people don't want reoccurring charges on their credit card. So then we had to pivot, and it was good because every challenge that you have, either you're going to stop or you're going to be swifter and be more knowledgeable. So that's why I tell people that want to get in the business, you got to make sure that you love it and not just infatuated with it. Because like with anything else, if you're infatuated with it, you're not going to go through the trials and tribulations to make sure, you meet your end goal. But if you love it, you're going to, run through fire, wrestle alligators, do whatever you have to do to make sure that your objective is met. So pretty much talent, Fly TV, we started it because we wanted to control our own narratives. And pretty much we as a people, we really don't own anything. We're all the talent, we're everything, but then we have someone else really pulling strings when it really counts, when it's time to, the profit sharing and advertising splits and things of that nature. And, we're out the room. But without us, it wouldn't be a conversation. So we pretty much, wanted to control the narrative and put out great content. And thanks to you with It's Just Comedy, the channel, it's been great giving not only seasoned comedians, but up and coming comedians a platform, to have their voice. Thanks to Eton Thomas, we have the show, The Rematch, off the ground. We interview all type of NBA legends. And thanks to Adam Silver, the NBA commissioner as well, for giving us the interview, because we wanted to interview him first before we went to the players, to let them know that they can no holds barred when we interview, and they could just speak candidly. And it was important to have the commissioner on board, so they know that, if you listen to Trump or what have you, giving Roger Goodell, the NFL commissioner, advice to fire the players like it's an episode of The Apprentice, or what have you. But we wanted to get Adam Silver on board, which he was. He's a voice, he supports the movement and everything like that. So it's been a blessing. And we have other great shows. We have Mr. Cheeks from the Lost Boys. We're working on his show now, chopping it up with Cheeks. We got our show, Tales from the Web. We got a lot of other people signed to it. Fredro from Onyx. So it's just a blessing, to have so many.
You're ahead of the curve with this, right? You've been ahead of the curve with this. I don't know if you've been paying attention.
I'm listening.
Because I don't know if he paid attention. Like he said, this started 6 years ago, right? Mm-hmm. And now what I'm seeing in this past year, Kaepernick is doing it. Jay-Z is doing it. LeBron just started doing it. And you got about 4 or 5 other conglomerates that are making teams to do this very thing you're doing, so that we can control the narrative.
Yeah, bro. That's what it is. I was telling people about ITV program. When Dave and I first started this, we was like, hey, we're tired of paying for cable and watching the same thing over and over. And that's when that TiVo was going on. And no one was watching programming at its original airtime and date. That's been out the window. But people are, because this whole thing is a matrix and we're confused. When you look at it, the only thing that's live television is sporting events and news. Everything else is pre-recorded.
And the young people, the millennials, they don't watch cable.
No, exactly. Everything, the phones, they watch full. I tell you, here I have a few big TVs in my house. The kids won't even cut the TVs on unless they're playing PlayStation or Xbox. Other than that, everything is through their phones.
Absolutely, and that's the thing. That's the thing. Like he said, you got ahead of the curve with this, because I've always advocated, like, have our own. I was like, we needed. I know now they're trying to start like most of these Black news channels, right? And I'm like, hold on. Y'all need us to tell our stories about our hood.
Thank you.
Let's tell our own story that's going on in our hood.
Right.
The phone gonna be with somebody. Let it be one of us. That somebody really. We tired of y'all coming to our neighborhoods, and only person you want to speak to is the one with no teeth or the one with the rag on her head. Why y'all keep picking that? Like, nobody in our neighborhoods work. Nobody go buy hair. Nobody in our neighborhoods buy hair or do their hair or put no clothes on. And there ain't no men that come up with a suit who can say, well, I actually saw the suspect run this way. I saw him. He was running. And then he went left. Right. Hold on, my baby mother was calling. So I wasn't able to hear. We tired of that.
Right.
We do Black content, and Marlon, hats off to you, because it's like what I've been dreaming to see happen.
Right.
And I'm sure, right, Sin? Like when Talon said we could sit here, these platforms, I live for this. I dropped out of college in my second year. Don't judge me. Okay? Okay? Right. But I was in I went to school for media communication arts, right? And this is why we do these programmings, to circle around to why we do what we do. One of the reasons,
you putting your plug in for Marlon right now?
I'm already plugging. I'm not even playing.
I got my
telling you,
Marlon, are you here?
Listen,
I'm plugging us, Sin. Hold on, Sin. I'm plugging us. Thanks, Talon, for the plug. Thanks for the plug, Tal. Marlon.
I'm here.
Here we go. Hear what I'm saying, okay?
Let me tell my thing too.
Sin. For us, Sin. What I'm saying is,
my work, because he been to my event.
Because what Cindy is doing, and Sin, I'm talking for us, Sin, because girl power, right?
Let's go.
So Marlon, you see this energy I'm talking about right here?
Come on, fam. Like I
Now-
said,
We
now-
working with these kids, right?
Yeah.
We working with these kids. And one thing I say with my platform is that your age don't define your gifts.
True story.
And the reason why I'm saying that, because we're reminiscing. We're talking about old school stuff we used to do. And
Mhm.
sometimes I have to check these youngins, the
Mhm.
millennials, and I'm
Right.
like, don't discount what we know, because
Right.
you only swaggy because of us, honey.
Right.
We pass the
Mhm,
wisdom
mhm.
down, right?
Right.
And we have fun with it too.
But we have fun with it, and we still have we like Talon said, we still have stuff to share, and we still have so much to pour out.
Right.
And the reason why I was mentioning what happened with O. Westbury, because I was telling you about being a troubled teen.
Right.
When I dropped out of college in my second year, I chose to hang in the streets before my education.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And I always said, I was like, I'm gonna be the Oprah of radio.
Right.
Because that was who I modeled to be. I knew I wasn't a bookworm. I knew I wasn't that, but I knew I had something. Like I said, City Kids helped birth that thing. Like I have something. I don't have to be the smartest kid in the room.
Right.
To say that is to say, for you to have this platform with Talent is on it and Cheeks is on it. You said Fredro Starr. And we all are 40 plus and we look good. How about it? What
Yeah.
I'm saying is that
True story.
you even opened up a platform for our age, our audience,
Right.
because there's people that still want to hear from our. I still want to see Talent make jokes. I don't know new comedians. I'm gonna tell the truth.
Right.
I don't know new funny people outside of Kevin Hart and the little one from Nick Cannon thing. The deep
Right.
young man. It is what it is. I still like my kids' comedy.
But see, that's very important. You bring up a key point. Again, with controlling the narratives, we got to sit back and ask ourselves, how come when you're in any other genre than hip hop, you're an icon, you're a legend, but then when you're in hip hop, you're old school?
Yeah,
Right.
come on.
I mean, just that word, old, it kind of takes something. But they know what they're doing with the media, the powers that be, that control mass media. They perpetuate these images like there's no black fathers at home. When you really look at the statistics, it's more black men with their families than any other race. And not to knock anybody, but I'm just saying when you look at it for what it is. But no, they want to perpetuate the going back and forth to jail and things. Yeah, do we have that? Yes, but every culture has that.
Right.
But we're not only that. That's
Right.
one piece of us. But like you said, his brothers with suits, his sisters out there making it happen, CEOs and everything. So we just want to level the playing field and show
Right.
imagery. But here's the other part that's really interesting. We are so into the matrix, so to speak. It's hard for our people to even accept these positive images.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
with the numbers we put out, we don't, but some of it, like even if we have things that might fit into the mainstream of what's going on now, the story always ends in a lesson or something that's not positive for the end user to walk away with. But when we have shows that, you know, walk down that path, those numbers are more, we get more viewership than the more positive content that we put out.
All right. Well, I mean, this goes back to an early part of the conversation tonight when we talked about we came up in an environment. If you create an environment where the guy that's doing wrong is prospering more than the guy that's aiming for right, then you're going to get a horde of individuals, youngsters and adolescents, that follow the design of the guy doing wrong. Why? Because, like Cindy said earlier, people see what it is from the outside in. They don't see the work that goes into something, the sacrifice, the trials and tribulation. They see that what they deem to be the end product. So if the end product is from the guy with the Land Rover and the knots of money and the Jordans and the gold chain and everything, and the guy that either joined the military or went to college is struggling like me and working, you know, on the corner store, sweeping the barbershop, and he's already 28, 30 years old. The adolescent makes a choice of that pays off, that doesn't, right? So my thing is this. I think with our youth, we have to take this approach. The same way they do in a horse race. You know what they do in a horse race? They put these blinders on. And these blinders are on to make sure that horse focus on only what's ahead.
Right.
because anything can sidetrack them and lose the money and lose the race.
Right.
So you don't want your horse in the middle of a race going 80, 100 miles an hour and just stop and go, oh, a rabbit.
And then
And
he's
we
gonna
go,
do
oh, a
it.
rabbit.
Yep.
You break his legs, you fall off, you die.
Right.
The people lose $1 million. They don't want to mess with you no more. It entangles the whole race for progress. So we need those blinders on our youth coming out and keeping those blinders on. Things on the side, if it ain't one or two things, support and encouragement, I don't want to hear it.
Right.
Right.
I was like that. I took a leap of faith and sacrifice and said, I'm leaving this good, cushy job that got all this future and money and benefits, and I'm going to jump out what I believe to be my calling.
Mm.
And if I didn't have support on the left and encouragement on the right, I would have probably been gave up on that, been started unbelieving, and there would be no talent that we're talking about. We wouldn't know it as we know it today. There would be no healing people through laughter. There would be no therapeutic and giving people hope at the end of the tunnel. There would be none of that because I got derailed and didn't have support and encouragement over here. We need to instill that back with our youth.
Indeed, indeed.
Yeah, that's so important. And talent, you know, we do a lot of work with the youth. As a matter of fact, we're a sole source provider for the New York City Board of Ed. And we do a lot of work with the Eagle Academy. Big shout out, you know, since we're talking about them, to David Banks and you know, Aaron Barnett over there. That's doing a lot of work, great work with our young
That's
boys
Cindy's
and
people,
girls.
Eagle Academy. That's the ones that did. We had them do a tribute.
Eagle.
They messed the whole tribute up, yo. It was the funniest thing ever. And we were honoring Mike Bivens.
Right.
So they had put a routine together. They were gonna come out and do the live thing and honor Mike Bivens, right? They did all Bobby Brown.
Marlon, you would have. Listen, don't do that, talent. The kids did a great job. They did
But it was no, they did a great job. I never said they didn't do a great job.
Right.
My face was like
the whole time Mike Bivens is at the table with his wife and family, staring at them like, don't they know I almost stabbed Bobby Brown on the court?
Right. Well, they said, but they cool now though. That's
no, they're very talented. We just had a lot of fun with them that night.
my God, talent.
Yeah.
Shout out to the Eagle Academy.
Yeah. So I mean,
the Eagle Academy. I have so much respect for the Eagle Academy all over the city. I mean, everywhere I go, they have representation there. You know, they're like, we want your program in our school. We want your program. And the problem that the parents have been advocating, that's been another issue as well. A lot of the parents, they want Radical for Kids to come into the schools. I've been to so many schools, and the way the Board of Education is so competitive with a lot of these after-school programs.
Right.
Everybody wants to be in the schools for the funding for their program, you know, different, a lot of red tape.
Right.
And my thing is like, are we picking and choosing who we cool with, or we going to pick and choose what the kids want? Because the kids show up in these programs, like, I bet you they was doing Bobby Brown, but they did it to the best. They probably tore it down.
They did.
Yeah.
It's what the kids want. Light, camera, action. That's all the babies want.
Right.
They just want the lights, the cameras, and the action. They don't care who we honoring, right? We care because we want people, we want to say thank you. They don't know these people contributed so much.
All I'm saying, if you're there to honor Patti LaBelle, you can't do Anita Baker songs. That's all I'm saying.
Right, exactly.
You gotta do Patti LaBelle. No, but they were very super talented.
Choreographer.
Super talented. And
wait, the funny thing is that I was looking at the list and I was like, that's not Biv's song. And then talent looks at me. I can't
but you know the point I was going to make though, when I was bringing up the kids, I was going to say what we have to do too is listen to them.
Right.
You know, because I have 3 kids. My oldest son, he's 22. He's a professional soccer player. So I saw, the trials and tribulations and everything, him coming up, and it's a mixture. It's a healthy mixture of my wisdom and knowledge and his ability and his stick-to-itness, So one thing we have to do is make sure that it's, the glass can be overrun it. You know, we have to leave some room to listen to them, and we got to talk with them and to them and not at them.
There you go.
Yeah, that's the key.
With the problem be with these young people. I find that they just want to be a part of the conversation, like us having this conversation now. I think a great thing with us and our organizations are when we have the young adults, some of the millennials that work with our organizations, where they make that connection as well. You know,
right.
Sometimes I'm learning so much from them. I'm learning so much from what works, what don't work. I'm glad that I'm surrounded around them. And you know what these programs saying, because a lot of stuff, like you said, a lot of things we still think old school with.
Right.
And that's some of our moral value that we hold with us. But a lot of times the younger people that's doing the work and working with these children too, they'll tell us like, oh no, this is the thing. Like I always ask my daughter, what's up with that? Or because I know the things that I no longer remember or don't connect with. But like you said, they're involved.
Right.
If we get the younger adults involved with most of the things that we do, and they're pulling up the ones younger than them at that 13-ish, that peak, right, because they look at them like older sisters and brothers and stuff. Sometimes like the kids in Radical for Kids be like, cause she like grandma. I'm like, hold on, I ain't no grandmother yet. Slow it up.
Right.
Like
I can still twerk a little bit.
Right.
I know what twerking mean, like stop. They be like, grandma. So I think that us coming together, how we doing this, I want to be at your next event, Sin. I mean, I know that had to be bomb. That had to be bomb.com. And listen, I'll come there as anybody. You tell me, and I'll be there with the kids, without the kids, with the organization. And I have also Melanin Sisters United. And that's sisters that listen, Facebook. Let me tell you, Facebook. I said, ladies, let's do something. And that's when I said, listen, why are you waiting on Black Girls Rock to come on TV? We can have our own Black Girls Rock right in the community. And
but one thing I want to let you know too, I don't mean to cut you off, but since you brought that up, we have a channel, which is one of the things I'm most proud of about having a platform. It's called LIFT, Leaders Inspire for Tomorrow. So it's on Fly TV now, and it's a channel dedicated to our young people. So any content that either you have, with that empowerment or anything that you think would be beneficial for young people, boys and girls, I'll be happy to take that and actually air that. So,
awesome. Good to know.
On top of it, we was talking about before, which I didn't talk about, is we talked about the youth, how they consume content. But the fact, we're on all the phones, which we talked about, and these are true dedicated mobile apps for Android, iOS, Windows, BlackBerry. Also, we're on all the IPTV formats. Those are your Apple TVs, your Roku, Google Chromes of the world, as well as the site, www.fly.tv, fli.tv. So depending on where the end user, the viewer wants to consume the content, we have it readily, ready on the different platforms for them to view it.
Good. I wanted to piggyback off of what Tina was saying when she was saying that we should listen to the youth. If you don't remember, back in the days when our elders or the ones that came before us would say something and we would be like, challenging what they said and things like that. We've been there, right? So although we've been there, we still had a respect level. Now it's like the kids don't respect us, but we don't respect them either, right? So it's like, it's like they're screaming and they're screaming out to us, and the way they scream out to us is their behavior, how they act in school, how they act on the block, how they act around other kids. If they're bullying somebody, they're screaming for some kind of attention. So it's like I've heard so many stories. Well, actually, one story, I don't know if you heard about this one. This guy has a son, and his son was being bullied by another little kid. And he couldn't understand why that young man was bullying his son. So what he did was he took in the guy or the little boy that was bullying his son and was asking, what's going on? What's happening? And he started to just bawl out and say, I've been going through this and I do this. My father's not here, blah, 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 blah. And he took him on like a son. And now he's his mentor. And now his son and that young man are cool.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Like best friends now. I believe they're best friends. He's almost like his
right. You heard that
took him into his own home.
He took him into his own
Cindy, remember you mentioned this a couple of interviews ago, and it was very interesting. You were very adamant on this whole mentorship thing. And you as well, Tina, you brought that up as well, that's something that we can definitely, as Black men, do better at.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't have to be our blood. I mean, people do it all over the place. I told my daughter, who had her thing Saturday, when she seen all her family come show her that love and support, knowing that she's going to go to college, it like tore her down in the best way. Like she was just so humble and knew that she was loved. And I said to her and a group of the cousins around, I said, I want y'all to look around. See how big and beautiful your family is. This is reason enough to be motivated to do the right thing and to be the best you version you can be. Absolutely. I said, because in this day and age, we live in a time where people buy families. Think about that. If somebody told any of us 20 years ago, one day we will be living in an environment where people are buying their families. We've been taking our families, no matter how big or small, for granted for so long that you just think, oh, everybody got a family. Not really. Not really. People are buying family, and they don't even care if they white and they Cambodian. They don't care. They just want to buy a family.
Right.
Whatever's on sale.
And the other part of that too, a lot of us don't know. Like, for instance, I never met my father. So, but again, like I tell people, a broken clock is right twice out the day. So, a father there from being there can make you see what to do. But by me not having a father, I know how that felt too, by nobody coming to my game, by not having that support. So what I did was just flip it. The cycle got to break somewhere. So with my kids, I mentioned my oldest with the soccer, my youngest with the basketball, whatever my daughter does, You
went harder. You went harder, right?
I've been on contracts in LA and I'm working, and I flew from LA to New York just to go to my son's 2-hour soccer game and flew back to LA. And everyone would look at me like I had 3 heads. And I didn't even know. I felt inspired to do it. And these things that me and my son look back now and talk about, the things that, bridged us together. So, so talent, a lot of us don't know, but we got to stop saying, oh, well, I didn't have that and I'm good. So my kid, no, you're not good. Because just as a parent, we all want to make sure our kids was better than us. That's what I feel like our role is. And being a parent is great also, because it gives you the opportunity to right all the wrongs that you think was done to you when you was a child.
Right.
As I look at this more and more, whatever you run from, like, it's like you got to deal with the same problem until you find a solution.
Oh, yeah, that's why God put you around that mountain. He keep taking you in that mountain. You like, dag, I've been here before. It might get worse or it might get clearer. You're going to keep on going around that mountain until you get it.
So true, so true.
And I think what I push and preach, one of the things I push and preach, that the epiphany, I say in the last 5 years I've been going hard with, is trying to get everybody to understand we have to get off of this broad stroke and everything, and we have to deal with things individually, case by case. Case in point, like you just mentioned, somebody said, well, I didn't have a father, I'm good. You got to understand something. There are people who are going to grow up in single households, just mom, just dad, and they may be built a certain way. This individual may be built in a way where mom was actually enough for him, and he prospered and he was successful. But then that kid next door, he probably couldn't do it with just mom. He probably needed that to get to that next level for whatever reason. So I think that we're all saying the same thing and coming from all these different angles of the octagon, but we can't do it without having these platforms with these conversations right here.
Right.
Marlon, these two women right here, we're going to talk because
Okay.
I feel some energy here that, sisters have voiced something. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's my good girlfriend. I don't even know what you're talking about. She's from Bronx. I'm from Brooklyn. We B&B.
Look, and they switch
Right,
hair
there you
every
go.
Tuesday. And every Tuesday they swap hairstyles.
Right.
Next
who I might
Tuesday,
be tomorrow.
next Tuesday they Pocahontas and Nina Simone.
Let's go.
There you
Anyway,
go.
I thank all you guys. The hour went so fast, and when you got great people talking good things, we got to come back. I'm gonna get some topics and bring you guys back sporadically because I'm here every Monday doing Motivation Mondays. Marlon Greer, thank you. Tina Booker, thank you. Cindy Barr, thank you. Clap it up to all my guests.
Yeah, thank you so
guys.
much.
Salute y'all, man. Thank y'all
All
so
right,
much. Fly TV, baby.
One love.
All right, take care.
See you later.
Appreciate y'all, man.
Let's do it.
Take care.
Thank y'all, man. And see, this has been Motivational Mondays. In the closing 4 minutes, I want to thank my guests again, Marlon Greer, for coming through, Cindy Barr, Tina Booker. Thank y'all for being on this. In closing, in the last 3-4 minutes, I wanted to say 2 things. One, again, reiterate how you got to believe in yourself. We have to eliminate self-doubt. Self-doubt is our demon. It is our evil. It is our closer. It is our denier. And self-doubt can be planted. That seed is a main ingredient for failure, for quitting, and for self-explanatory self-doubt. It make you doubt yourself. What I want people to know is there's different ways to get that seed planted. You have to figure out with you, what are those things that implement self-doubt in your brain? What makes you even doubt yourself for the slightest of minutes? You know what I mean? I know one thing for a fact is the ignorance of smart. Now, it sounds crazy. People say, what the hell are you talking about, talent? The ignorance of smart. The ignorance of smart meaning a lot of people don't even realize what smart is. They think that how many years you read books, how many years you went to school, how many classes you took, this, that, and the third makes you smarter than the other person. It doesn't work that way. First of all, there's different types of smart. Second of all, this person could have went to school for 2 years and dropped out. This person did 8 years. And you said, oh, they did 8 years. He didn't even finish. They smarter than them. No, not necessarily. Because learning and schooling is memorized facts. Doesn't make you smarter. Makes you memorize more. Do you have more information that you memorize? Probably so. Does that make you smarter than that person? Doesn't necessarily mean that. I have 6 kids. I got 3 or 4 of them got some street smarts. 2 or 3 of them, not so much. I got kids that if I find out their car broke down right now and they're an hour and a half away and I got to go get to them, they're going to be all right. That hour and a half, 2 hours it takes me to find where they are to get them to safety, they're going to be okay. But then you got those other kids that are not street smart whatsoever, and you're going to worry that whole 2-hour ride. Did they get fooled by somebody or bamboozled? Did they get tricked? Whatever the case may be. So understand what smart is, because if you're ignorant to what smart actually means, definitely you're going to buy into being less smart than somebody else, which is going to plant the seed of self-doubt. I don't want you to doubt yourself. You know what I mean? You are the potential that you create. It's not an accident. When people do great things or invent things and come up with things, it's not by accident, it's by design. They open up those lanes and avenues to allow themselves to flourish and bust through. And that can happen for you. We are all individuals, case by case. We're not one broad stroke. And the minute that we get that through our thick skull, the minute that we operate, wake up day in, day out, and operate knowing that, I mean, applying that, is when you're going to see wonderful things. And the next point is to the people who don't believe what I'm saying, who have self-doubt and saying, nah, it ain't gonna happen for me. I don't have these resources. I need that. I'm not ready for this. This is not lined up. The stars not aligned, all that stuff. Let me tell you something. What I want you to do is, I want you to think back to that one time or a few times that you had that unexpected victory or win. That time you had that you won. You didn't think you was gonna win. You just knew it was over. You said, "Oh, they're gonna get me. Oh, I'm not gonna fail this. This is not gonna happen," and it did. That's the proof in your pudding. That unexpected victory or win proves that all things are possible. Just got to stay motivated. I've been your boy Talent Motivation Mondays. Again, shout out to my guests, Cindy Ball, Tina Booker, and the entrepreneur superstar himself from Fly TV, Marlon Greer. Trying to keep y'all motivated. Till next week. Peace.